Hey, what's up? John Sonmez here from simpleprogram.com. I got another book review for you today. Today, I read all kinds of stuff. I like to go in phases of reading different types of books, whatever I'm interested in at the time, some of the subjects. Some people recommend books to me, and sometimes I just pick up a random book that is a topic I'm interested in. That's the case in this book. So the book I'm going to be talking about today, I don't know if you can even get this. Let me see. Tired of pushy recruiters sending you LinkedIn requests for jobs you have no interest in? Tired of blasting out resumes into the dark? If so, you should check out Hired.com. Hired.com flips job searching on its head by having top employers like Facebook come to you after you fill out one simple application. You also get your own job coach to help you on your next job search. If you haven't checked it out, I highly recommend you at least fill out the application. Just go to Hired.com/simpleprogrammer, and when you get hired with Hired, you'll get double the normal sign-on bonus for using that link. So the book I'm talking about today is Gnosis. It's by Geddes McGregor, A Renaissance in Christian Thought. So, why did I pick up this book? Well, because you're not really supposed to read about Gnosis, right? I mean, that's off limits. Like, you're not supposed to, that's bad stuff. I like to think a little bit outside the box. I like to see what I'm missing. And this is a topic I've always been interested in, especially where, in the Christian theology, the things that, some of the apostolic are not really part of the main Christian canon. So you kind of wonder, what is out there? What did people believe? What was the kind of weird shit that people believed that they were teaching, like the quote wrong stuff that the church kind of disavowed way back when? And so that a lot of that was called Gnosis, right? Gnosis basically means knowledge. So it's kind of interesting. So I've always been interested by this topic, and I thought, I don't really know. I don't get what they're actually teaching about. What is it? And what is the problem? What's the history of this? Because most people don't, this is sort of a taboo subject. Most people, like within the Christian church, I believe, try to avoid this and don't talk about this. They talk about Gnosis and how it's bad, right? But they don't give specifics. And then people outside the Christian church really couldn't give half a shit, right? So I thought, hey, I should probably learn about this and probably figure this out. Now, unfortunately, this book didn't really go too much into depth. It's a very scholarly book, very well-written book, actually, very interesting. But and I don't pick up too many of these hard copy books or paperback books. But I saw this at like a book sale, and I thought, hey, I want to learn about this. But he does talk about what Gnosis and Gnosticism is. Then he basically goes into the problems of defining it. He goes into, essentially a lot about like how essentially the purpose of this book really is this idea that a lot of the Christian religion as it stands today, right, as it sort of evolved out of a Gnostic sort of religion or Gnosticism, right? So and what is Gnosticism exactly? Again, I can't 100% put a clear definition to it because there's so much out there, but a lot of it is some of the Eastern type of philosophy stuff. So this was kind of had a very personal connection for me because I've been opened up to a lot of more of the Eastern philosophy. Not that I'm really subscribing to one of those religions, but there's an interesting book that will kind of blow your mind. I think that probably everyone who's Christian and who's non-Christian should read this book just to have their mind blown, whether they agree with it or not. It's called An Impersonal Life by Joseph Brenner. I highly recommend the audio version because it'll spook the shit out of you if you can even get through it without without getting sick. Because it really, I'm not going to ruin it for you, but it is really a deep book. It'll really like knock your socks off. So I've been interested in some of these concepts and in some of these things, and it's kind of interesting that the Gnostic era, like that, which kind of Christianity, a lot of traditions and stuff came out of. Which you've heard this, right? And you've heard this in various forms from people saying that a lot of pagan holidays and whatnot. And I think that's just it's kind of weird because a lot of you got to realize, like I think with any religion, again, I'm not trying to preach any kind of religion or try to try to sway you in any way towards a particular religion, but or even to preach against a religion. But what I'm trying to say here is that a lot of religions, you just have to accept for a fact that they have, it's what you've been taught something. It's not necessarily what the core of the religion teaches. It's the environments, the traditions, the thing that you've been told, the way it's been told to you, which really influences what you believe. And so you take a lot of things to be just absolute based on, if you're a Christian, the Roman Catholic Church is going to be different than the Presbyterian, than the Protestant, than the Lutheran, right? There's going to be a different spin, different traditions, different things that are like taught as if they're absolutes. And that wasn't always the case, right? And I think a lot of religions have this, right? Even in Islamic religions, there's the Sufis, there's like the mysticism, and there's Jewish mysticism. You can really, I think, relate Christian Gnosticism to mysticism. There's a mysticism element to it. And so what is mysticism? What is Gnosticism like in terms of this? I think it's really just like going a little bit deeper and trying to figure out, like, how does this all work? Like, is there more stuff going on here? And so a lot of the early Gnostic sort of thoughts were things around, like, is there such a thing as reincarnation, right? Is there like an evolution or advancement of the soul, right? These are interesting concepts, a lot of Eastern concepts here, right? Things like karma, things like, I'm trying to think what else. The idea of humanism, right? Humanism is this idea that mankind kind of conquers all, that if you, by studying mankind, you can learn a lot about the universe, that's really the focus, and it changes the focus. A lot of the early church, I think, was very much against kind of the humanism movement that came forward, but it's sort of a critical element, right? And really the religion, Christianity, is really humanistic at some level. So I'm giving you some of the concepts from the book, some of the things here. Really, really interesting, subject to talk about, to think about, to go a little bit deeper. The reason why I appreciate the book is because the author really, he kind of tears apart. He basically says, like, stop turning off your brain. Like, and I would apply this to any religion, to just any person in general, is that, like, stop turning off your brain, because a lot of times people, especially highly religious people, have a tendency to turn off their brain and not think about things, and certain things are taboo and it's off limits. Let's not go there. But there's a lot, the universe is a very complex place, and so I think there's a lot of merit in exploring some of the mysticism, connecting some of those dots together. And that's really what the author of this book, he's saying here, is basically like, look, in order to have some kind of really deep thought in the Christian church, I think he's a Christian scholar. I'm not sure he is, or he was, I don't know if he's around anymore. He was Emeritus Distinguished Professor of Philosophy at the University of Southern California. So it's definitely a difficult read, but this guy knows what he's talking about. And his basic tenet of this entire book, in fact, I'll just read you the back of it, because this probably describes it a little bit better, and I agreed with this, because it is difficult to sum this up. It says, a mood is widespread, writes Dr. McGregor, that is unfavorable to religious dogmatism, but favorable to the exploration of what lies behind the dogmas, right? So that's pretty interesting. With this in mind, the author provides us with a contemporary look at the controversial system of thought known as Gnosticism, a way of understanding Christianity that was integral to this religion early in its history. Dr. McGregor recognizes a deep need for an authentic Christian humanism that will do justice to both Bible and tradition. He explores the growth, decline, and now rebirth of the Gnostic element in biblical thought. Widely admired for his objective analysis of religion, the author, by demonstrating the profound humanism inherent in the Christian tradition, makes this religion come alive. He incorporates the concepts that were deeply entrenched in the ancient Gnosis, concepts such as karma, reincarnation, and moral evolution. I got that pretty good. Hey, there we go. The author believes that the rebirth of Gnosticism can bring to the Christian community a revitalized spirit that can enhance our understanding of the message that Jesus brought to the world and exhibit the inner meaning of Christian orthodoxy. So, Some of you are like, man, don't touch that book, that's taboo. But others of you are a little bit open-minded and say, hey, I mean, because I don't know what religion you are, right? It doesn't really matter, but this is kind of interesting. And this book was published, I think in the 80s. Let me see here. Oh, actually, it's copyright 1979. So it's kind of interesting, right? Looking at what people were thinking back then. And what has changed and what has not changed. So I like it. I thought it was a pretty good read. I probably am done with this subject for now. I'm a little bit more curious, but I was just curious about this. So I said, hey, let me pick up a book and see. And sometimes I do that, and it was fun. So there you go. All right, if you like this review, if you want to get the book, you can see if you can find it on Amazon. Like I said, I think it's out of print. You have to buy it but you can buy it for probably like $2.63. All right, if you want to get more videos like this, book reviews, normally I'm doing quite different books than this one. This is an oddball. You can click that subscribe button below, and I'll talk to you next time.